Keiko O'Brien is doing an isosome study on some populations of Cardilia, but they're turning out to have these really weird polymorphisms. What a headache. Dr. Balthus wants to do a study on the laticifer ontogeny of the Callidian thornflower, and Chief Miles O'Brien is not too fond of Tom Corbin. Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Seventh Rule with Cirroc Lofton.
Hello, hello.
My name is Ryan T. Husk, and today we're doing a review of Star Trek The Next Generation Season 4, Episode 17, Night Terrors, story by Sherry Goodhartz, teleplay by Pamela Douglas and the Jerry Taylor, directed by Cirroc's pal Les Landau. This was March 16th, 1991. Where were you? We've got a very special guest, everybody. Can you believe it? Stunt woman, stunt actress, Rosine Ace Hatem. How you doing, Ace?
Hey, everybody. Hi, doing great.
Awesome. And
Is that how you? I'm great. I just wanted to make sure. Rosine. That's a great name.
Yeah, I go by Ace though because everybody couldn't remember my name, and it was Rosie, and I'm like, I'm not a flower. So when I moved to LA 44 years ago, I took the name Ace from Ace Bailey of the Boston Bruins. He was my hockey player who actually perished in 9/11, who was a scout for the Kings, and then was on a scout in Boston, flying from Logan back to LA, and perished in 9/11 on flight 175.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Yeah, very bizarre. I've been carrying his name on since 1972.
It's unbelievable.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Well, you do have the nickname Ace, and looking you up, there's a good reason for it. You're practically still working. I saw that you had some credits like up until just recently. This is nuts, but let's get into this for a little bit. Very quickly, one of the first things I noticed, of course, was you worked with a very good friend of ours, especially of Cirroc's, by the name of Dennis Matalone.
Danger!
Danger and Ace.
Danger, yes.
Danger Dog.
What can you tell us about working with him?
Go ahead, Cirroc.
Oh.
I mean, he's a firecracker. I love him. I mean, you know, he comes in there, he's a ball of energy. He loves what he does. He comes to work fully fired up. He's had like 10 shots of espressos. That's what he feels like when he's on set.
But he still does.
And he's just a lovable guy too. I mean, there's almost nothing I can say about him that's not flattering. He's just a great people person. He's somebody that's fun to be around. He takes time to explain things to you. He doesn't talk down to you. He talks level with you and gives you the straight up. And he's his number one concern is safety. He's all about that safety on that set. And so, you know, when he's there that he's thought of all the protocols and he's put all the procedural things in effect to make sure that the actors are safe and the stunt people are safe. So that's what I know about Dennis Matalone. Plus, he loves his dog.
Yeah, I got mine right here.
Yeah. What got you into, being in the stunt industry? I mean, that takes a certain kind of courage to me.
It does. Yeah. And I was a little ahead of the curve. It's not like it is today. I mean, when I decided I wanted to be a stuntman, it was 1972 outside of a little town of Boston. And, you know, you didn't have anything that you have today like Facebook. So I kind of planned my education around it, where I went to a 2-year school, and then I transferred from a small private school outside of Boston to UCLA. Didn't know anybody, didn't know anything. Talk about stunts. Everybody asked me, which a big stunt you do? I said, survived LA for 40 years without becoming a hook or a drug addict or an alcoholic. So stuck to my New England roots. That's where I'm here now, doing the thing that I promised my mom and dad I would do, is take care of them, sacrificing, I don't like that word sacrifice, but making dad a priority right now instead of my career. I still want to work. I still love the work. It's completely different than when I started. But I loved it when I was in it and in my prime. And Danger he was one of my buddies. We used to go meet at Patty's for breakfast and have the dogs. And he was the original highball guy. He was one of the, besides Star Robinson, that was his call to fame too, was the high falls and working on Star Trek and the Star Trek Generations. And he was just, like you said, he's a ball of energy. I almost think like we're brother and sister because we have the same hair, the same energy, we both love dogs. You know,
Yes.
it's like, you might, we're brothers from another mother or something, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, Danger and Ace sounds like a dynamic duo. That sounds like a
Right.
comic book right there.
You sound like superheroes.
Yeah.
Oh, he was a superhero, right? Well, what was
Yeah.
that? What was that
Yeah.
show that he had? I'm blanking
Greatest
out on
American
it.
The
hero.
greatest American hero. Yeah.
Hero, yeah. He got his butt kicked. And those are back in the days where we didn't have the greatest technology. It was still emerging, and now the ear rams and the wire work and the harnesses, they're just like a totally different. It's a totally different level of technology, than it was when he was doing those hardcore stunts.
But so let me follow up on that, because you mentioned that you to LA, you went to UCLA, you were getting yourself prepared to enter into the industry. And what did that preparation, what did that mean for you? Does that mean studying certain subjects in school, or does that mean getting your martial arts on and figuring out how to stay in combat and physically train? What did that mean for you?
Let's remember the era, the 70s and the 80s. Okay, so I was doing martial arts back in the 70s. I was the only female in my dojo for 4 years. That's another reason why they call me Ace, because my sensei started calling me Rosie, Roxanne, and I'm like, Sensei, I'm not a flower. So, because you got a nickname and go, yeah, Ace, and it's stuck. And then I leave, I'm Lebanese and Italian. I told my parents for 2 years and my boyfriend at the time, I'm leaving, I'm going to California to be a stunt woman. Everybody thought I was nuts. I didn't know anybody. I didn't know anything. We're talking completely male oriented. The whole scene in LA was very different with, what it is now. I went from a small private school to UCLA. I studied kinesiology, got my degree in kinesiology. Didn't have schools like they have now, didn't have meet and greets, you had to be in LA. That's where the work was. There was no Atlanta. There was no, New Mexico. LA was the place.
Mm-hmm.
And it took me 5 years to get my first job with Gene. I used to train with Uncle Gene Judah LaBelle, who was another icon. I'm sure you worked with him. And Benny the Jet Yukitas. So when I got my A card, I crashed a commercial. They didn't even know what kickboxing was. I literally had to explain it to them. So I was a fighter before, like a different level. Because when I got in, most of the women were cowgirls, girlfriends, just different. It was a different era. So that's how I got in. But it took me a long, long time to get. Anybody else would have quit, but I was just so stubborn and naive and wanted it so bad that, it's not like nowadays, the kids don't even have to hustle. They just send off a text or an email or, and they're like, oh yeah, I'm available. Back in the day,
right.
Remember we had to go to our Thomas Guide and go
and newspapers. Yeah, the jobs were in newspapers.
Thumbs down.
Pictures and resumes and
How do you live like that?
Well, it was day-to-day grind. You want to talk about rejection on a regular basis? You're looking at it here.
My first time, just to admit, my first time, full disclosure, of hearing about kickboxing was from watching a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie. So I didn't know anything about kickboxing.
I think the movie was called Kickboxer, right?
I think so. Everything I learned came from there.
Yeah. Well, Ace, let me ask you this. Because this is something I read about you, and I could be wrong, but for this particular episode, Night Terrors, where you were Marina's stunt double, and you were carried up on these wires to do this whole scene, a bunch of scenes.
Yeah.
I heard it took a full day.
Oh, yeah.
Why is that? Were there a lot of starting and stopping? What was the situation there?
I think we were probably just a skeleton crew of maybe a second unit. And I remember that was one of the first times I was in wires. And like I said, they're not comfortable, and it's not like they are today. And you got to remember, I'm wearing a harness that's bulky with buckles and chrome and leather and straps, and sounds kind of sadistic. And sometimes it is. But, when you're up on the wire,
I'm listening,
and your blood's being cut off. It takes a long time. You got to take breaks. You got to come down. And they had me roll, spin this way, spin that way. You got to look ethereal, whatever they were looking for. So it does take a long time. And do you want to hear a funny story about that day that I actually remember?
Oh
Because
yeah. Oh yeah.
if you saw me, I mean, I was a dead-on ringer for her. Eyes, hair, body, makeup, hair and makeup loved me. You know, our hair was the same, skin tone, my body type.
Did they dye
And
your hair? A quick question. Was your hair
no,
dyed for that?
it was actually the same color as hers.
Okay.
My hair
Okay.
was a lot darker then and a lot longer, but you know, when you get older, that's what happens. And so what happened was, you know, that's a skin tight bodysuit, and you got a bulky harness you have to hide and smooth over. And you know, and I remember I was told through the grapevine, through the production grapevine, that she didn't like the way I looked because I would look quote unquote too big. And in actuality, we were basically the same size, you know. And the wardrobe people were like, "You're an awesome double." They loved me because we were the same size and all that. And then that she would say that about a lot of her doubles, but
Marina complaining about something? That's unheard
What?
of.
No.
so I was a really good double for her, and it's really hard. Like you try to smooth out the harness underneath the tight jumpsuit, and you know, like you said, you're spinning and you're hanging and things like that. So it was, if I can't remember correctly, it was if it wasn't the first time I was on wires, it was one of the first few times because the wire work, like now, that's all you see nowadays is wire work, and it's just like I said, it's just such a different animal now than it was when we started. But
I imagine it was more restrictive, the earlier wires and stuff. It wasn't as kind of
correct. And now you get them custom made. They have designs for the women, so for the chest area. So it's a totally different thing. That was like a generic harness that I borrowed from one of the stunt guys and the riggers, the stunt riggers, and you make it fit. So now you have your own harness. You go in. There's places you go. You get them molded to your body, and it's a totally different. Which now, is a good thing.
Do you remember if that B team that was doing the camera roll or second team that was doing camera on you for the stunt, was that done at the Paramount Lot 1? Yeah. And also, was that a green screen that we were looking at?
Yeah. Yes to both. I do for sure. We were at Paramount, and I believe it was a green screen because I remember Jake. I can't remember, it was like Jeff Haberstadt. I'm trying to think of some of the rigger guys that helped me in and out of my harness and flew me. That's off the top of my head who I can remember. Yeah, I was definitely on. I loved going to Paramount. So yeah, that was I was like a little kid. Are you kidding me? I'm like, yay, Paramount, yay, fly, yay, you know. So yeah.
Now, did it matter to you that it was Star Trek, or was it just another stunt gig?
It was a job. It was, and honestly, I mean, probably shouldn't say this on this, but I was just so focused on getting work and hustling all the time, and you know, so to me, I was like, and then plus I was like, oh, I get to fly. I get to be something new and exciting. So yeah, because you know, when we work, if you work a day and then you're not on it as a regular series, you don't really get the whole continuity of what you're doing until you see the end product. You know, so for me, I was on a stage, on a green screen with my buddies, hanging, flipping, and having a good time.
Flipping out.
I've got a quick question for you. You were also in the movie First Contact. That was in '96, I believe. Do you remember anything with regards to working on the actual movie? You were also in another episode called Power Play of the Next Generation. You were a hostage, but you were a nightclub patron. I've got a picture here. See if you remember this from this is from Memory Alpha. If you could see that.
Oh yeah, I have that. Yeah, yes. I didn't know the name of the show. Yes, that was when we were downtown in the 1940s dress. That dress, I was told, be careful, don't rip it. It was 1940s, skin tight with the aluminum, with the metal zippers, with already the thing strutting, and they're like, "Don't move." You know, we're running, we're dodging, we're jumping, and that was. Yes, I remember that day. That was such a fun day because there were so many stunt people. I think Ronnie Rondell was the coordinator. Awesome Stunts Unlimited original guy. And that was, I'm trying to think, what did I say? That was downtown at the train station, Grand Central Station. So it all fit. Yeah, that was, I forgot the name of the movie, but I knew it was a Star Trek movie. I just didn't know which. Yeah,
Can
that
I
was
ask you a question? Not to be too personal, because I don't need the numbers, but I would like just the general information. When you appear on camera, like you did in that particular episode, where it's your face and it's not just using your stunt, are you paid also as a person on camera, or are you paid as a normal stunt pay?
you're just you stunt ND, nondescript stunt player.
Okay.
Back then, now I think things have changed. Stunt utility, stunt rigger, blah blah blah.
Okay.
I think more what you're talking about is when you do the commercials where they say, "Oh, you on camera? Are you not?" You know. But then
Right.
that was feature film, ND stunt. You know, there was probably, I don't know, 20 or 30 of us that day, and then I have a really good picture. I didn't have time to do any digging pictures, but you know, back then you weren't allowed to take pictures. Remember? So
Yeah, I know.
so the fact that he found that, but I do have one picture Wardrobe gave me with that dress, and I have a picture with Tom Hoff. You must know Tom. He was a regular. He was always a not a Klingon. Oh my God, I'm blanking out.
Vulcan, Romulan.
Vulcan.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sorry.
Yeah, if he was in makeup, then it'd be harder for me to recognize people.
Yeah,
I didn't even know my best friend when I saw about a makeup.
You're right. That's right, Aaron. Well, Ace, we only have you for another minute here, and we really appreciate you taking the time. It's been amazing. We really appreciate it. But there's just one more thing I got to ask you, which is you are still working. You have credits as recently as this year on Beverly Hills Cop doing stunts.
Yeah, that was a fun one.
What's going on, Ace? How much longer are you going to do stunts?
I want to be like Sandy Campbell and work into my 80s and keep going and going. So everybody out there, I'm available no matter where, no matter what. Just give me a couple of days that's notice. I'll still hit the ground for you. But like I said, my dad right now is my biggest stunt. So I still love to work. I want to work so bad. I don't get the calls as often. So maybe this will help and see you out on one of the conventions or something. That would be really fun to talk about and meet other people out there. But thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And brought back you brought back some fun memories for me.
It's been amazing. You were wonderful, and thank you so much, Ace. This is really cool.
Wait a minute. Come here, Cooper. Hold on 1 second.
Here comes Cooper.
All right. We got a cameo.
Cooper, this is for Danger. He's from California.
For Dennis, yeah. All right. Well, stick around for just a second for us, Ace. Everybody at home, you stick around. We will be right back on The Seventh Rule.